again, welcome back. Today I'm doing a what the hell is this double bill, which is Reservoir Dogs and City on Fire. The inevitable comparison video between these two. I had never seen City on Fire until last week. Like I actually owned it, but I never watched it. It was one of those films that was like, I should get round to that at some point, but I never got round to it. I was never that interested. Because even though I like Reservoir Dogs, I'm not addicted to it or anything. It's a good film, but it's not anywhere near my favourite Tarantino, and I think it's well made, but I don't love it or anything. So I wasn't really that keen to get, into it and what the comparisons were. Because I mean, for instance, I much prefer Kubrick's Killing to Reservoir Dogs. I think it's a much better film, much more humane film than Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs, I find, has a coldness to it at the centre, because Tarantino's in love with the criminal underground a lot more than their actions actually suggest he should be. And I think there is a kind of he doesn't bring the human side to them the way he would in other films later. In this one it's a bit colder, which makes it more interesting in some way, but it is colder. And it does show up the hero worship for the criminals that is a bit queasy. But it is a very good film. And it is more interesting because it's less human. But City on Fire was the first one. It was made by Ringo Lam, and it's, for 2/3 of the film, it's nothing like Reservoir Dogs. For a start, you see the heist, and you see everything. But it does have a central theme of a friendship between an undercover cop and a career criminal, and it also has them robbing jewelry stores, which is Reservoir Dogs' idea. And they do have a criminal boss who's bringing these criminals together, but he doesn't colour code names. These people, everyone knows each other in this. But it's a cop movie, this one, and Reservoir Dogs is a crime movie, which means in Reservoir Dogs the focus is on the criminals, and this one the focus is on the cops. So you see everything from Chow Yun-fat's perspective, and he's the cop who's he's been undercover for years. He likes criminals more than he likes cops. He wants out of life because he doesn't feel like it's doing him any good. It's messing up his love life. And Chow Yun-fat's maybe charming in this film, and he is charming because Chow Yun-fat, but his character isn't. His character's a bit of a weirdo and does things that's like, that's a way out of line, you should get punched for that. So that's the kind of problem we've got with that character. But also the film's very unbalanced. There's lots of actions that are good fun, but it goes on for a while. It's a fun film, but it goes on and it doesn't really have a strong central narrative. It's just that him trying into this crime group to get evidence, selling guns, then get evidence against them by being in them as they go to do a crime, and he can point them out, those are the criminals, and put them away. The heist goes completely wrong. A lot of people get shot and killed. They end up in a warehouse. They end up having a mixing standoff with each other. Everyone dies, just like in Reservoir Dogs. The thing is, it doesn't feel like Reservoir Dogs for so long, and it really does. Because the crime is about getting these jewels. Well, that's a crime in Reservoir Dogs, but because that's a normal crime for a crime movie, that doesn't feel unique to either of them. So you think, I don't care about that. That's just who they're robbing. It's not a big deal to me. I've seen it in countless movies. It doesn't matter. So that doesn't, the jewelry thing doesn't matter. And Reservoir Dogs is a flashback, flash forward structure, which this film doesn't have. And the characters are completely different. But you get to the end and suddenly it becomes very much like Reservoir Dogs. Like the confusion of who's the criminal, because obviously there's an inside man, which is the focus of Reservoir Dogs. Comes in late in this film, but it is there. Like they're stuck in this warehouse and they know someone's sold them out, and they pretty much figure out who it is, Chow Yun-fat. And the queer criminal doesn't like this, and he says it's not him, and then Chung Fat admits to him after everyone's been shot that yeah, it was him, and Chung Fat dies. And you know, it's this thing where there is a lot of crossover, and some of the scenes feel very similar, and it's like you could have veered a bit more away from that. So yeah, there's definitely a sense of Tarantino saw this film, was very influenced by it, but he wasn't that influenced by it. It's like he liked bits of it, and he was a bit too blatant about what he stole from a bit. At this time, we didn't have the internet, and we just film magazines where you'd get a couple of people saying that sounds similar, but that's all it would be. Now with the internet and everyone can show scenes side by side, it's like, oh, that was blatant. Yep, he stole that. There's no way around it. He stole it, but it was a good scene, so he stole it. Reservoir Dogs is different though, in that it is much more like The Thing than City on Fire. I mean, you could say it steals much more from The Thing just with the atmosphere of it, and this one location that's shot with lots of whites and sort of subtle colour schemes and all these bunch of men being paranoid of each other. It's much more like The Thing. It's the same way that Hateful Eight is very much like The Thing, and actually Kurt Russell in it. Like, obviously Tarantino loves The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. It's so obvious. And it feels like this film feels much more like The Thing for a good running time. It's like, what do we do? How do we get through this situation? But instead of in sci-fi, we've got a rat in the house and that's it. And you've got a lot of really good actors working off each other. And the camera's kept back so it's not always in your face, so it allows the actors to actually control the scene and actually make the points for the director and actually have good dialogue and all the rest of it. The problem with the film for me is the Tim Roth character. It's always been the problem for me. And it's not Tim Roth's fault, it's the character, not him. He does as good a job as he can. But for me, he's a terrible cop. Like, he's a really bad cop. And you're meant to feel sympathy for him, and you're meant to see that Harvey Keitel took to him, and I just don't see that. And it's a big hole in the film. It's always a big hole in the film for me. It's not just come up. It's just I don't get why in this film Harvey Keitel takes him so much. It's sort of like he's got a puppy, like Tim Roth's his puppy, you know. And that's what the relationship is a master and his puppy, and the puppy's been injured, so the master's going to defend him, and that's it. It doesn't feel like it's in no way meant to be collaboration of equals, but it's meant to be some mutual respect, and I don't really feel that in the writing. And when you get to the end and when Tim Roth admits he's a cop, I just think, why did you do that? Like, you've only known this guy for a week and you've been undercover cop for ages, and it's like, that's a character weakness for me that's not to do with, oh, this is a flaw in his character that you've really pushed throughout the film, or we've been subtle about it and pushed it a little bit, but it's there. It comes out of nowhere because he feels guilty because there's a bond between them, but a cop undercover who's been shot, why would you say that? I just don't think the film really gave, because of the flashback flash forward structure, seeing them from different perspectives, that gives you a lot of sight to the character, but it doesn't ever give you the scene where Roth really takes to the Keitel character in a way that would justify that ending. It feels like they justify that ending to have an ending. Like, oh yeah, Keitel felt something for this kid and he defended him from the off and to the end. Because that feels like Keitel's character, who is very confused about his feelings for the Roth character, but he feels loyalty is a big thing for him. I understand the Keitel motivation entirely. It's an old school crime motivation, but it's very clear. But the Roth thing with telling him he's a cop never feels like, because the character feels shallow to start with, and then he's under Keitel's wing, but you never feel the jump from being someone around him to being someone who'd actually give himself up knowing he's going to get shot. Because there's no way, you know when he tells him that he's going to die. And I don't think that this film actually earns that. It was a big thing when it came out, look at that ending, but for me it was a shock ending rather than a motivated ending. I'm sure other people feel differently. That's just me, that's my interpretation of that ending. It just feels a bit weird. And the actual coldness of the characters is actually quite enjoyable though. I mean, just how psychopathic and cold Michael Madsen is, and how obviously psychopathic Chris Penn's character actually is below the surface. He's trying to be a businessman, but obviously he likes the fights and he likes the nastiness, and there's a mutual nastiness between these two characters, and it's like, it's really interesting, and you wish you'd see a bit more of it. And the idea that the character Joe, who sets it all up as this, is much more old-fashioned guy, it means sometimes you lose the darkness to him. Maybe you don't get enough hints of darkness there with him, but that's fine because you get darkness with Madsen and other stuff. But sometimes you would like a bit more there, but it's not a deal breaker. It's just the way, like, I felt the darkness a lot more when Sterling Hayden in The Killing, and in typical Kubrick film, than I do in a Tarantino film. Like with Tarantino, you do feel the genre conceits are there, but the characters sometimes butt against it because he's trying to make them more likeable than they need to be. And here it's a bit more closer to being unlikable, but it doesn't quite jump over as much. It's still not quite as true to life as I'd like. You know, it is a bit more sentimental. Like if you look at Heat compared to this, Heat feels a lot less sentimental. De Niro's character feels much more psychopathic than the characters here, even though you do feel sympathy for him to a degree. You do know he's a psychopath. In this one, it's fudging a bit more. But that's just because it is a plaything of a director who's getting to play criminal. And that does come through sometimes in the film, but other times there is a nice coldness to it that is enjoyable. Like how Steve Buscemi is, as I've always felt, the most valuable player in this film, because he's the one who keeps the plot running the first half of the movie. He's the one who does a lot of the talking, a lot of the heavy lifting, and he's a lot of the energy that keeps it going and allows Harvey Keitel to be silent and quiet for a lot of the time. And he's just terrific in this film, and he gives it so much energy, and Keitel's really good as well. But there's certain little bits of writing that I just wish, like, I think it's better directed than it is written in a weird way, even though it's well written. It's just, I just feel that the writing, it's not quite finished. It's like another little draft away from being finished for me, the writing. I know I'm not the mainstream in this idea, but it just is what it feels like to me. It's obviously a much better film than City on Fire. Like, it's much better crafted. But in City on Fire, I actually bought the Chow Yun-fat would tell this guy he was a cop, because there was a more genuine bond built between them than there was in this film, in Reservoir Dogs. I just never bought it, and that's why I wanted to do a comparison. Is like, the interesting thing is not, for me, is not that the Tarantino ripped him off, is that he ripped him off and never quite got the same level of warmth that actually made you buy the twist. And that's kind of why, even though Reservoir Dogs is a better film, I really kind of like City on Fire more in some ways. It is a kind of weird thing. I've got a kind of love-hate thing with Tarantino anyway. I mean, it's not as simplistic, it's a bit complicated with him, with my opinions of him. Like, there's a lot of stuff he does really well with his, a lot of stuff that he does that really interests me. There's other stuff he does that feel like cheats a lot of time, and it's like, he's a director I don't think always pushes through. I think he half-arses it sometimes in little ways that he hope that he doesn't get called out on. The same way as Scorsese, like, half-arses it sometimes and doesn't get called out. It's like they've enough goodwill and no one will bring it up to them, these problems, but there are problems. And I think Tarantino started early with this, you know, and it's kind of a shame because the film was good, but there is a kind of coldness to it, and there is a couple of things that don't quite add up to me. But they're both enjoyable films, they're both recommended to watch. I'm sure you've all seen Reservoir Dogs anyway, but City on Fire is worth seeing too, and it has its own charms. But I hope this video made sense to you. I hope it wasn't just me rambling. But I'll be back soon for another one. Right, bye for now.